Greetings, my name is JC.
And I'm Ian.
And this is the Gamer's Gaiden. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit interesting. I gave you a list of games that we were sort of talking, and I asked if you had played them before, and you hadn't played most of them.
Nope.
And the idea was that you would select one of those games, and then essentially we would try it out, and I would get your thoughts on the game from a game that I had played whenever it was new, but you had not played until today. So the game that you chose was Alien 3 for the Game Gear, this game right here. And so I have a setup here with the Analogue NT, and we're going to play through that. So have you played any of the other Alien games? Because this is actually an interesting title because it was released for practically every major console of its time.
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that. I feel like I might have played Alien 3 on the Genesis.
Okay, yeah.
And I've played many Aliens games since then. My assumption is that this is going to be some kind of like side-scrolling shooter, probably a simple like run and gun kind of deal.
It does have those types of elements, but I would more classify the game, in my opinion, as a sort of a timed puzzle run and gun type game.
Oh, I'm going to be real bad at this.
Yeah, and puzzle only in the element, it's like minor, maybe like 1/5, because you have to find prisoners in every level and find their locations.
Well, I guess that makes sense because the third one was set in a prison.
Right. And get to the end of the level before the time runs out. And there's aliens in your way that you...
At least there's still aliens.
Yeah. So...
and I can shoot them?
Yes.
Okay,
You get a
cool.
machine gun, a grenade launcher, there's grenades, there's a flamethrower.
All right. You said flamethrower?
Yeah. Well, the flamethrower is really powerful but limited ammo, so don't waste that one for sure.
Okay.
But for the first level, for example, what you have to find... a handful. Every level is sort of like a square, which is very intuitive of that era, because whenever the 16-bit era happened, you probably, like, if you looked at maps from Earthworm Jim or Jurassic Park or Alien 3, a lot of the games were large squares or rectangles, and then the whole map would sprawl across there, whether you went from like left to right, as opposed to Mario Brothers, where it'd just be like a long hall where you just kind of went through it, and there might be like ups and downs and stuff to it, and it was more linear or straight up like Mega Man and some of the Contra levels.
Yeah,
this is more of like a square format.
So you can kind of like backtrack and...
Yeah, or if you missed an area, it's a lot easier to go back to the beginning of the level and then like check out this other little room or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, you find all the prisoners, you get them to the exit of the level, and then you go on to the next level. And it's 15 levels of that, if I remember correctly.
So am I going to get through all 15 of those tonight?
No. This is one of those types of games where it requires practice in order to be able to beat, especially since
if you told me ahead of time, I would have practiced, JC.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get practice for the previous one. But it's more about your first impressions of the game, right?
Okay.
And there is a level select code, so we'll see how far you can get, and I'll sit down with you and sort of like teach you the control scheme and stuff like that. Because as a reminder, in case you're not aware as a viewer, this is Game Gear game, so we have button 1, 2, and start, so 3 buttons to play with, and then a D-pad. So you don't have... No, there is no select on the console. Yeah. So, like, you have to do weird things like press down and the 1 button, for example, in order to change your weapon, or one is jump and stuff like that. So, yeah. So the controls can get a little weird to get used to, but overall, I used to play this game quite a bit. I didn't beat this game until much later, probably like college era.
Okay.
Where I actually like sat down and was like, let's try and beat this. Is kind of like a game that I just sat down, see how far I would get, and then, play it again later. And it was just entertaining because I really like its format. It's simple yet effective, in my opinion. One of the things that I find really interesting about this game, and This and Jurassic Park is another one. It's actually on most consoles that were new or of the era. So then there's some modern games that are like that too, where it's available for the PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One. Like it was available for the Nintendo, the Game Boy,
well,
the
this
Master
is a
System.
huge, like, a breadth of consoles and handhelds that we're talking about, right? Like,
Basically, I don't think there's a TurboGrafx 16 version of this game, but that wasn't really a larger in North America anyway.
well, and if I recall correctly, especially, like, I don't know Alien 3 specifically, but you mentioned Jurassic Park, and every version of Jurassic Park was different.
Yeah, and this is the same with this game too, where like if you play the Super Nintendo and the Genesis version of Alien 3, the games, like look up some long play footage of it and skip through it. The games are very drastically different. They feel different. They look aesthetically different. Obviously, this game is a handheld game, so it's not going to look as great as like the Genesis version.
Yeah.
Especially for
I think
like
I
its
might have
time.
played the Genesis version, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I feel like that's where I get the idea that this would have been like a run and gun kind of.
Yeah, and there's like basically there's 5 unique versions because the Game Boy version is fairly unique. The Nintendo version is unique. The Master System Game Gear version are basically the same thing except for the crop is different.
That makes sense.
The Super Nintendo version, and then there's the Genesis version. There might be a couple of other versions up.
Sega CD maybe.
I don't know if there was a Sega CD. I know there's an Alien game for the Sega CD, but I don't think it was Alien 3.
Okay.
But I'll confirm and post it up there if it is. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I find this game so interesting because like I didn't have a Genesis right away. I had a Game Gear before I had a Genesis.
Yep.
And then I got a Genesis like a year and a half after I got my Game Gear. But my one friend had a Genesis and my other friend had a Super Nintendo. And Alien 3 is a game that we would rent and we found really fun. But I ended up getting it for the Game Gear. And that was kind of where I had played the most of it. And it wasn't until later on the Genesis that like I had actually sat down and played the Genesis version more. But yeah, so let's
get into it.
Get right into it.
Am I good to?
Yeah, go ahead. So you can continue on by like if you make it to level 4, if you hit the continue, it brings you to the back of that world.
So we got jump. Oh.
And you can shoot up whenever you're on a ladder.
Okay. Shit. What? Come on.
You have to be underneath it, and it'll just pick you up.
Ugh, I don't like that.
Jump straight across. Throw a grenade.
This is stressful.
Yeah.
This shouldn't
Just
be.
keep on going over to the right. I think you have all the bad guys. No, you're missing 2 of them. That's the big thing about this game is like there's a lot of backtracking. Go up from there. You miss the people I think at the beginning of the level to the right there. So that's the cool thing about these levels is that they're kind of open world in respects.
Yeah, like it's.
Up and right.
That's a lot more. It's kind of a lot more depth than I would expect for a.
Yeah.
For a Game Gear game.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just interesting because it's like a lot of handheld games, they tend to surprise, in my opinion. And sorry, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Yeah, a lot of Game Gear games tend to surprise, in my opinion, and same with Game Boy games of the time, right? Like Pokemon's a pretty advanced game, and it's just on a small little cart, right? You can shoot straight up, just as an FYI, from stairs.
Oh, your health continues on from level to level?
Yeah.
No. What? Just
see the little dots? That's the giveaway of where the alien is.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Move quickly, but don't move quickly?
That's part of the... So I'm glad you mentioned that, Ian, because one of the big things about this game, too, is the better you do, the more resources you have later on in the game. It's one of those style of games. And that's why I was like, you have to learn the levels, because, like, if you get good... It's a dead end. If you get good, then you can do, like, the first 3 levels without getting hit or dying.
Also a dead end.
You got 3 minutes, hurry up.
Oh, but I had more time.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you rescue a prisoner, it gives you more time. So that's a bonus. But always remember that every level is a square, like I was explaining. Not every weapon can shoot straight up.
Is there a way to see how many prisoners I have left?
No, it flashes up whenever you rescue them, but if you're switching through things too fast, unfortunately, the interface is just too small to kind of show that. I think you might have 2 left.
Back to back?
Yeah, that's why I said you got to look for the little dots. It's the same color on the same color, right? So sneaky developers are trying to trick you. The music's pretty good though, eh?
I'm not gonna lie, it is really good. It's a lot better than it should be.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's a lot better than it has, like,
I think, like, some consoles
need to be?
Yeah, I think some consoles get a bad rap because that'll start from the beginning of the game, by the way. The continue below you is like a legit continue. Though I think since...
It was a configure.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because you didn't beat... If you beat the boss and get to, like, the next area, which will be, like, a different theme map, then you can continue to the beginning of that theme, if that makes sense. Like, there's a blue area and a purple area and a red area.
Okay.
Okay. But you see, now you've done this, you know how to expect, right? Because it's in your memory.
Yeah.
But you kind of learn the tricks. I think some of the hardest parts about this game have been really, from my memory anyway, is because I replayed through this game and, like, relearned it basically, I think a year ago. Or 2 years ago, whenever I got the Analog, this is one of the first games that this and Shinobi were sort of like the games that I, like, plugged in almost immediately to, like, actually play through. Like, I played Sonic and, like, some of the other games and stuff like that I, like, grew up with and loved, but
yeah, I mean, you're like Mr. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sometimes, yes.
So you not playing that would have been a big surprise.
So inch forward, he'll drop, yeah. And then, so the best way to do that, no, you're missing a prisoner, you have to jump over across to get the prisoner.
Oh, that's right, I do.
Yeah. And then switch to your grenades, and then throw a grenade down there. Yep. So throw it and then walk forward.
Oh.
I mean, that works too. Just go down into the... You can't fire straight down for some reason. I don't know.
It's okay. I can run away, apparently.
You can definitely run away. I mean, that's what they were doing in the first Alien movie, was just running away from the alien through vents and stuff, right? So
it's true. It wasn't until James Cameron got his mitts on it that he turned it into a
survival horror
run and gun.
Yeah.
It was initially a survival horror.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. They changed it from a survival horror to a run and gun. I mean, both movies are really good, so it's like whatever. But.
It's true. Aliens is really good, but it's a different. It's like a completely different vibe than Alien. Which, I mean, it's interesting. Like I've had this conversation with my wife several times because she's a huge fan.
You can fire his legs.
Of both movies,
mm-hmm.
but we've kind of both found, like, as we get older, Alien is a much more enjoyable watch.
Yeah, I've always been an Alien fan, and I've enjoyed Aliens, but I've never really liked it as much.
The intensity of Alien is just like
it's
a lot, and it's.
Remember, you go under and you fire up with your machine gun. Though actually, the grenade might work. I've never tried that. Nope. They're in the wall. Oh, anyway, is this actually the? I think maybe it's backwards. Okay, here. There we go.
Oh.
These are all the levels.
That's.
So.
What's the 1A?
That's the very first level. So, like, you'll notice that, like, it's level 1, but part A, B, C, D.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so this should be a boss.
Sorry.
These are the bosses. And they shoot stuff at you. But, like, there's usually, the funny thing is there's usually a place to hide. So, like, if I had stood here the entire time and just fired, I would have beat her. There's always one place on every, that was the hardest part as a kid to do, as a kid, because, like, I had to learn where to be, because, like, whenever you're, like, 7, you don't know, like, oh, there's probably one part where I can not get hit, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, I can dodge all the stuff, right? But anyway, so I guess talking to my own mic instead of Ian's. But, like, so here's level 2, and that was a boss. And, yeah, try out level 2. Also get ready to fire.
All right. Like, the music's fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about this game.
Like, this is...
Like, obviously there's a nostalgia factor, but, I don't know, the gameplay loop seems to be pretty fun to me. Collecting prisoners and, like, you know, killing aliens.
This is also brutal. Like, it's bright, but, like, there's bodies. And,
yeah.
Like...
Well, that's the big difference between the Genesis version and the Super Nintendo version too, to the right.
He was in the fireplace?
Yeah, he was in the oven.
Shut up. Oh yeah, I guess it is weird because it has this, like, so it, like, I feel like it's, yeah, you got, like, bodies and stuff and gore and whatever, but the way the walls look and everything, it reminds me a little bit of, like, did you ever play the Home Alone game on the Genesis?
Yeah.
Where you would go into the houses and, like, set traps in that?
Yep.
It's giving me a lot of, like, that.
Okay.
Like, I guess that's metal, but it could be, like, a wood paneling, and
yep.
That's just a really tacky, like, wallpaper, and there's, like, yeah. That's all I can see. But again, I'll give it credit. The music is great. Like, it has no business being this good.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and, like, for me, we've been over this many times. Like, if I'm like laying in bed playing a Switch game, I have the sound off always because usually I'm next to a person that's sleeping. And
yeah. And you can turn the sound off in this game because it was handheld and, you know, parents get annoyed. I think that's why they added it in there. But I don't know. It's pretty catchy. Like
it's good. Sweet.
So this is the third level. Like again, the game loop is pretty much the same, but this one's more of like a green zone. Like there's a lot of stuff kind of hiding. I think this is one of my favorite tunes.
Honestly, at first, like when it first started, I was like, it's kind of like whatever.
But it had a rolling start, just like an actual song.
It shouldn't be this good. Like honestly, that's gonna be my big takeaway from this game.
Yeah.
Is that like the gameplay was fine, like it's a passable game.
Right.
But I would go back and play this. Actually, I wouldn't even go back and play this. I would just look up the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And listen to the soundtrack because it's really good.
Yeah. So what about the gameplay? Do you find the game loop fun?
It's passable.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to. I don't want to say that because that's not entirely true. Like, it's not that I wouldn't go out of my way to play this.
Mm-hmm.
It's that if I was sitting down at home to play something,
right,
I would play something else.
Sure.
But if I was like, I don't know, going on a flight or something,
okay,
or a road trip that I wasn't driving, and
so like if you were to compare this to other Game Gear or Game Boy games and like some of the console games like of the time, like what do you think it kind of like stacks up to like the other ones that are kind of like of the time? Or?
I mean, I honestly would say that this is at least I would say this is comparable to like even like a not side scroller, but like not because this is a weird.
It's a mix of genres, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Like it gives you slightly more of like a Metroidvania kind of vibe because it has backtracking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has stuff items that you're getting that will that'll help you out later on in the level.
Yeah, like you're not getting new power-ups, but your ammo carries over and everything, so...
Yeah, and I mean, to a degree, it is... These are power-ups.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like, you are carrying your health
mm-hmm.
to other levels. And, like, that's going to have a huge impact. I can imagine, like, going to a boss fight with, like, 14 health.
Yeah. If you don't know the area to stand, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just finished playing for about an hour or so.
Something like that, yeah.
Of Alien 3. And what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, well, not knowing what you're gonna cut in because we did talk quite a bit throughout the my playtime with it, but is it if I was gonna sit down at home and play something,
mm-hmm.
this wouldn't be what jumps into my mind.
No, I mainly come back to it because of nostalgia, right? It was one of the games I had on the Game Gear, and it's kind of one of the games on a list of games I wanted to beat. So.
No, if I was out somewhere with a handheld or like a emulated version of this,
yeah,
I would play this.
Sure.
Like this is it would be a great way to kill an hour or two if you're like on a long car ride or on a flight.
Yeah.
Like this is a perfectly acceptable way to pass time. And man, I would sit down and listen to the music because the music is really good. It has no business being as good as it is.
Yeah, the guy who did the soundtrack of this, we kind of looked him up. I'll put his name up on the screen, but he did some of the platforming Genesis and other console music titles as well in the 90s.
Like I'm gonna go and look up other titles that this guy played.
You'll recognize some of the music games that he worked on. He did do the From what I saw, he did the Genesis music for Alien 3 as well.
Okay.
So I remember the Alien music in the Sega consoles being really good. I don't really remember the Super Nintendo music that well. But to be fair, I didn't play the Super Nintendo version that much. But yeah.
This was really good. My takeaway from this was that the music was way better than it needed to be.
Yeah.
The rest of the gameplay was fine. Like it's an interesting mix.
A lot of genres.
I really haven't played anything quite like it.
Yeah, that's the main reason why it stands out in my memory, to be honest, because it, like, a lot of the games that released in the 90s were experimentations, and even so today, but, like, especially, like, games that were released on multiple consoles by different developers, they just decided to do different things with the other consoles and try something else, and this kind of stands out for that reason for me.
Well, that's why we get we have like big standouts and big differences, especially in something like this, where a franchise is getting released across all consoles. Yeah, and okay, cool. The Super Nintendo was like a top-down shooter, and the Genesis version is a side-scrolling,
like beat 'em up or something.
Yeah,
as an example, that's not what those are, but for this game specifically. But yeah,
and the Game Boy version is going to be something completely different.
Yeah,
just because of the capabilities of the hardware, right? Like it's a really interesting time.
Yeah,
because like where we are now, they don't have those limitations to play within. They still have limitations, but the box that they get to play within is gigantic.
Yeah, the amount of it's kind of like a lot of the things were like new, so the limitations were just really like, can we do this, or can we fit these like things on the cartridge? Because that's a huge thing about, like, they could have tons of different images and graphics and stuff like that in very diverse levels, but that takes a lot of space.
Yeah.
So, what about the controls and stuff like that? You they're not that great, are they?
No, they're not good.
That's because it's a Game Gear game. And
yeah,
like I mentioned, I don't really think 2 buttons is a problem. I think it's just screen size.
No, I do think 2 buttons is a bit of a problem. Especially in the mechanics that they were trying to work within.
Sure.
Because there are really cool mechanics there. The fact that you have multiple weapons that all handle differently, and you even have a heat sensor.
Yeah.
To get an idea as to where the other
prisoners are. Was, if I remember correctly, that's in the corner of the screen on the Genesis version, the heat sensor, so it's always there.
But whereas like you actually have to give up a weapon.
No.
Yeah, this is something. That's something that you actually have to.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, you something you have to equip. But yeah, I guess I'm just more used to playing games with multiple options with like 3 or 4 buttons.
Yeah.
As opposed to having an entire
keyboard.
Yeah, a keyboard or like like 12 buttons on like a PlayStation controller, right? Like they even use like L3 and R3 now, like even more than they used to.
Yep.
But that was available on the original DualShock, like, or at least I think it was. But yeah, so it's a product of its time.
Yeah,
because
that's the only thing that as control-wise, well. The platforming sections were not tight. They were very floaty.
Yeah, because you had 2 ways of jumping. You had walking and jumping or standing and jumping, which you can kind of control standing and jumping a little bit more, but you have to like know. It's like the difference between Mario 1 and Mario 3 physics, because like it's very pixel tight in Mario 1, in my opinion, and it's less pixel tight in Mario 3. It's very pixel tight. It is in Mario 3 as well, but not as much.
No.
And part of that is the graphical presentation. But anyway, with this game, you had to know how far a standing jump had to go. Because like I showed you how to do that one section where like you could get the extra ammunition and you had to go back, but you had to do Like, you couldn't walk over to the side. You had to stay right in the middle of the platform, otherwise you're going to die.
Yeah.
And there's some areas in later levels, like, obviously, I didn't show you every level or the whole entire game, but there's...
Pretty close.
You know, I showed you every level, but not every part of the levels.
Yes.
And there's some areas where you had to, like, if you, like, especially the last stage, which is kind of BS, it's ludicrous. You have to... you have to get good at it, because there's some platforming where you have to do the standing, jumping, and walking. You have to know how far away you're going to be at, and that on top of remembering where all the aliens are.
Trying to get onto an elevator platform that is coming down between a moving platform and a slope.
Yeah.
So if you jump slightly too far, you're going to hit the slope and slide down and lose health.
That level you're supposed to tackle it a completely different way, but yeah, if you wanted to do it for sure.
Like, that was... You couldn't even just slide down and land in the proper spot and lose a bit of health. It was going to kick you back too far.
Yeah. Games are way more forgiving now than they used to be.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But that's not necessarily a problem with this game. That's a thing that was of the time.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind it, you don't mind it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it.
But this was totally serviceable. Yeah. I wouldn't go out of my way to play it.
No, I don't think most people would really notice this game unless somebody showed it to them.
But that is a shame, because, again, the music is so good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like the soundtrack.
It has no business being that good, because it's like 3 channels.
Yeah.
You've got like 3 different instruments.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane.
Cool.
Anyways, thank you very much for the Game Gear experience. That was
no problem.
Delightful. I'm excited for our next round.
We'll choose another game and play through that one.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
excited. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. So if you've played Alien 3 on the Game Gear or other ones, and you have good memories of that or bad memories, let us know in the comments down below. I'm interested to see if there's any other fans of Alien 3 for the Game Gear out there.
And at the very least, go check out the soundtrack.
Yeah, if you just set OST for Game Gear, the soundtracks are different in each of the games. You hear some similar elements between the Genesis and this one.
I think the second set of levels was my favorite, because there was a guitar solo in there that just shredded, and it shouldn't have. Didn't need to.
Yeah.
But check that out, please. And we will see you next time.